Hey guys, what's going on? Mizu back here with another video. Today I'm going to be showing you guys the best controls and settings in Rocket League to give you every little bit of that advantage over your opponents. What the best controls, what the best camera, what the best settings, literally everything in this game. We're going to be going through every single tab, showing you guys what the best settings are. Now some of it's up to interpretation. So whether you trust me or not is completely up to you. However, some are just facts. You should be using certain things and more than others. So without further ado, let's hop straight into it. I'm going to show you guys what the best settings in Rocket League are, what are my settings, and how you can kind of variate it and differentiate it from my settings to what other professional players use. So first we'll start off with the gameplay tab, the very simple one. It's all pretty simple. I mean, I don't really think you need to change too much here. The main thing that I would really look at, though, is the bottom one, making sure that your tournament schedule region is what your actual schedule is. So I think that's the only one you really need to look at. So moving on past gameplay, we're going to have camera here. So you're going to want the camera preset to be on custom. So you want to set your own camera preset, right? You don't want camera shake on. Camera shake is really bad. It's very distracting, and it's not something you want in your gameplay. So uncheck that, turn it off. Most professional players use field of view. 105 through 110. However, the majority are closer to 110 than 105. Most people are using 110. I don't know many people who aren't using 110, but if they are, they're using nothing less than 105. You won't see anyone at 104, 103, 102. It's not really a thing. So 105 to 110, whatever works for you. Most people use 110. You get that field of view. Distance, you can use all the way from 310 until about 240-ish. However, most people use right around in the middle. I use 280. I know some people who use about 290 or 300. Some people using more towards 260, 270. You just got to find what works for you. You guys can literally copy exactly what my camera settings are right now. If you want to pause the screen, this is what my camera settings are. So I use 280. Height, most people use between 90 and 130, whereas I'd say most people use probably 100 to 110. That's the majority of people are 110, right around there. Angle, I don't think anyone uses really -5 or -2. I think it's literally just -4, -3. I don't think anyone really uses anything other than that. I use -4. However, I think the majority of people do use -3. I'm kind of in the minority with that. I use -4. However, it's not really that much of a difference. Stiffness is going to be... essentially what stiffness does is it adjusts the... essentially here, I'll show you guys actually. If I change my stiffness to 0 and I hop in free play here, this is what's going to happen. So if I'm going, you guys will have noticed there's like, I'm really zoomed out, but when I stop, I'm all the way back in. If I turn my stiffness all the way up, you'll notice no matter how fast I'm going, I'm at the same camera angle. So essentially what stiffness does is it adjusts how much your camera will move back depending on how fast you are. So you're going to want some form of stiffness to give yourself relativity to how fast you are depending on how far your camera is back. I use 0.55. Now most professional players will use between 0.35 and about 0.775, right around there. I use 0.55. I feel like that's a pretty balanced number. I think the majority of people use 0.45 to 0.55, but anywhere between 7 and 4.3 is pretty good. Now swivel speed is not too important, to be completely honest. It's more of a high level thing when you're using your right stick to look around the field. Whatever you're comfortable with, it can literally be anything. However, if you're a beginner, I do recommend having a swivel speed of like 2 or 3. I use 5.5 because I'm pretty delicate with my right stick. I can handle it pretty well. So the higher it is, the more sensitive your stick is, essentially. Transition speed, most people have it on 1. And the other half of people have it on 1.5. I don't really ever see anyone have it 1.4, 3, 2, or 1. It's literally basically you either have it on 1 or 0.5. Not many people have it between that. And you just like pick. Don't have it on 2. That's horrible. Don't do that to yourself. Don't have it anything higher than 1.5. So either have it 1.5 or 1. You could mess with it, 1.3, whatever, but no one really does that. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like you either kind of want it faster or not. It's just depending on what you want. That's going to be it for camera. These are my camera settings. If you want to copy them, we're going to move over to controls now. So we're going to talk about the bindings last. We're going to talk about everything else first. So steering sensitivity, anywhere between 1.0 and 3.0 is kind of where you're going to be looking for your steering sensitivity. I use 1.5. Most people don't use anything higher than 2. I do recommend not really going higher than 2. However, you can go up to 3 if you want. Anything higher than that, you're kind of screwing yourself a little bit. Aerial sensitivity, same thing. Don't go higher than 3. Most people keep it within 1 to 2. Controller dead zone, you're going to see most people using between 0.1 and 0.005 at the professional level. I don't really know how to describe it. That kind of just works with your joystick and how sensitive it is. So you can kind of play with it. Maybe go to Gamepad Tester if you have a PC and see how sensitive your joystick is. Or maybe if you have some stick drift, you kind of play with it a little bit more. So dodge dead zone, you're going to be seeing most people use 0.8 or 0.7, and that's about it. No one really uses anything else. Some maniacs use 0.5, but you don't really see anything else other than that. So I use 0.7. Controller to vibration, turn that off. Super distracting. Definitely don't have that on. Ball camera mode, you're definitely going to want that on toggle. I don't really think anyone plays it on hold. That's kind of wasting a finger. You don't really need that. Mouse sensitivity and stuff, I don't use a keyboard, so unfortunately I'm not going to be able to comment on that. We're going to be talking about controller stuff here. I can't comment on that. I'm sorry, guys, but those are your controller settings for sure. So now we're going to hop into the keybinds. So you're going to want drive forward on R2, drive backwards on L2. Obviously, this is normal. This is normal. Jump, you're going to definitely want on X. It doesn't really matter where jump is as long as it's something accessible to you. Boost, you're going to, for the most part, want boost on one of your triggers. So R1 or L1. And then you're going to want your power slide and air roll to be on the same button. So for example, you could do boost R1, power slide L1, air roll L1, or you could switch it around. You could have power slide R1, air roll R1, and boost L1. But I do recommend having at least either or. It's definitely the most effective controls in the game. Most people use those controls. So there's not very many people that don't use these controls. There are maybe a handful, but most people use the same controls for that. If you don't already, after moving the boost and power slide and all that stuff and air roll off your buttons to free up some buttons, now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to bind an air roll left and an air roll right to those buttons just when you need them. Maybe so you're learning breezy flicks or you're trying to learn how to air dribble using a directional. You're going to want to bind at least one. You don't need both, but at least one to one of those buttons that you just freed up. If you're going to change your controls, that is. Scoreboard, you want that on a non-intrusive button. So if you're on PS4, you actually can't put it on share because it will make something pop up. But if you're on PC, the share button is pretty effective for the scoreboard. However, you can put it wherever you want as long as it's not really intrusive. It's not one of your buttons that use it for something else. Reset shot for your free play is also important. You want to put that on a non-intrusive button. Oh yeah, and I have rear view on my R3 as well. So now we're going to go into interface. You're definitely going to want... It doesn't really matter. Interface and display scale don't really matter too much. What does matter is your nameplate scale. You want to crank that up a little bit. Your nameplate scale is very important. You got to be able to see where the opponents are on the other side of the field if you're in your own half, right? You're playing 3v3. You got to see who's closer to the ball. That nameplate scale is having it at 100 is a little tough. You gotta crank that up a little bit. This is actually what Squishy uses, 140. So I got that from him, and I tried it out and I liked it. Definitely like that. Nameplate mode, I would leave it on default. However, you can do simplified if you want. Don't put it on nearby only. That's killing yourself. Don't do that. That's really bad. You're digging a hole for yourself if you're doing that. So definitely don't put it on simplified there, or nearby only. So match notifications. Essentially what this is I would only have it on all or time updates. Don't put it on kickoff, okay? So you need to know the time. So all essentially is when you make a save, it goes ding, and you get that save notification in the middle of your screen, right? You turn that off to time updates only, and when you make a save, it won't do that. If you get a goal, it won't do that. It would just be 30 seconds left, kickoff, 3, 2, 1. It's literally just time updates. So it's very like non-distracting. Most professionals use that. However, some professionals like Rizzo do leave the time updates or have it on all. Rizzo has it on all, whereas Squishy, for example, would have time updates only. Colorblind mode, obviously if you're colorblind, but some people do like to have colorblind on just because that helps them differentiate a little bit more. It depends. Just turn it on, and it's hard to describe. Just turn it on, see the difference. It's a little bit more orangey for red team. If you like that color scheme more in Rocket League, then go ahead and use it. Definitely turn force default team colors on when you have two teams that are like in an actual club. For example, mine's Empire Esports. They were playing as NRG, right? In ranked, it's NRG versus Empire Esports. Now it's going to count like as a club match or whatever, and you're going to have your team's color scheme. So maybe you have like a blue Octane, but all of a sudden your team's color scheme is black. Now you have a black car. I mean, it can be cool, but it's also very annoying because the whole arena is like that as well. You just want to turn on force default team colors. It'll make everything just normal Rocket League. The colors won't get messed up for you. Team color boost meter, completely up to you. Metric, obviously, if you use kilometers an hour or miles an hour. Ball arrow, you got to have that on for sure. Turn on the ball arrow. Ball cam indicator, you can if you want, but definitely have the ball arrow on. Performance graphs, this is for PC only. Essentially, if you look at the top right, I get my FPS. That does help if you're looking at having some issues. We'll go to video here. Now, this is probably the most important section of the video if you are especially on PC. This is very important here. So every single thing you guys need to trust me is very important that you have it this way. If you're looking purely for performance and getting good at Rocket League, you got to have these settings. Okay, guys? Your resolution should fit your screen. So I got a 1920 by 1080 240 hertz monitor, right? So I put 1920 by 1080. Whatever your screen is, go to display settings to find out what your resolution is for your screen. So fit your screen. Have it on full screen mode. You get insane amounts of what's called input lag, which makes the duration, or sorry, the latency between actually me inputting my controller to the side versus my car actually doing it adds to that time. So you actually react slower. If you tilt it this way, like your joystick, it'll actually turn later than when you actually did it, just by a little bit, but it's enough to be noticeable. So put it on full screen. Don't have it windowed or borderless. Put it on full screen. Vertical sync, again, this is a massive one. This is even bigger than full screen. Turn that off. Do not have vertical sync on, especially if you're a PS4 or Xbox. Turn that off. That was huge for me. I got Grand Champ on PS4. I was like Champ 2, Champ 3. I turned off vertical sync. Grand Champ was easy. Vertical sync, literally, I swear it adds like double the latency on PS4. On PC, it still does add latency, but on PS4, it's horrible. And Xbox, horrible too. So turn that off. Do not have vertical sync on. Make sure after you do all the settings, you hit apply. Apply is very important. So hit that once you're done everything. So anti-aliasing, you want that off. Render quality, this is the only thing that you're going to have on high quality. So you want the render quality on high quality. What that's going to be is the boost pads and the ball and the other team's car. Just the important things in the game, the actual mechanics. So the goalposts, the cars, the ball, right? The important things in the game, right? You're going to have it on custom, obviously, because we're going to change everything. Your frames per second, just set it to what's recommended for your monitor. That's what I would recommend. If recommended is like 60 and you know you can push more frames than that, then like put it up to 140. But if you got a 144 or 240, you don't need to max it out at 300 frames. Just put it on recommended unless it's 60, then crank it up a little bit more. Texture details here, we're going to put it on high performance. Literally, all this stuff is world detail, particle detail, texture detail, effect intensity. All that stuff is going to be like the grass swaying in the wind and the rain and the thunder and the fishes outside Aquadome. If you want your game to look pretty, cool, turn that up. We're not here for that. We're here to win. We're here to get you an advantage. That's distracting. You seeing the rain falling down in a stormy arena, that's distracting. We're not here for that. We're turning that off. The bloom and all this other stuff, the lights being distracting, we're turning that off. We're here to focus on the game. We're here to win. High performance. It's the highest or the lowest settings you can turn it to. Performance as well. And this is just on default. It doesn't really matter too much. You're going to turn literally everything off. So off, and leave transparent goalposts because that is important. You need to be able to see through the net. So there's that. Your audio settings, and by the way, video settings, make sure to hit apply. Literally almost all professionals use these settings, so you just gotta trust me on this. It definitely will help your game out a lot. It'll be more clear when you're doing this stuff. Your audio settings, you kind of just want to mess with what works for you and what balance works for you. I do recommend this. I recommend turning off playlist gameplay, ambient and crowd. It's way less distracting. You don't have the crowd going ole 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 or whatever. If you like that in the game, that's cool, that's fine. I mean, I know like Rizzo and stuff, they like that. It's too distracting for me. I want to focus on my team and what they're saying, their comms, what's actually happening in the game. So the important things that are going to matter, not the crowd chanting because I scored or something. That's what works for me. If you have headphones, turn to headphones. Speakers for speakers. Dynamic range, probably put it on default, but if someone's an audio geek, then you can mess with whatever you feel like is good. This doesn't really matter. we're going to move on to chat. This is just quick chats at this point. It's not really a big deal, but you can kind of just move it around to whatever you want. Yeah, I do recommend having thanks and my bad in your quick chat arsenal, just so you can be like a nice person when you mess up, or when someone says a nice shot, you can just be like, thanks. That's kind of going to be all the controls, really. I don't really think there's anything else that's going to matter too much. There is actually one thing. If you go to settings here, and you see unlimited boost in free play, this is under gameplay. This wasn't a thing unless you're in free play, so you're going to want to turn that on, unlimited boost. You can turn it off. Essentially, it just doesn't give you unlimited boost when you're in free play, which, I mean, it could work on your boost management, but most people just have boost unlimited in free play. It just allows you to work on like air dribbles and stuff like that when you're in scenarios to do that. However, you obviously can still like air dribble, flip, reset, whatever without unlimited, but turn it on. Just trust me. Most people have it on. Turn it on. That way you can just start zooming around the field, practice your speed. It's just way more efficient. Yeah, guys, that's going to be about it for settings. I don't really think there's any other settings I didn't touch on. That's about everything, I think. Yeah, that's going to be everything. That's all the important stuff in the video. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you guys have any questions or maybe opinions where you differentiate from what I'm saying, I'm more than happy to talk about it, have a discussion, because, I mean, these are settings in Rocket League. These aren't the #1 guaranteed best, but there's a reason 99% of the pros are using these settings, because it works. You can have a different opinion on the settings, but as of right now, these are what the community consensus would agree on as the best settings in the game. So I do highly recommend using these settings, guys, to give you that advantage in Rocket League and edge out your opponent for some wins, because these settings will actually affect you. I went from Champ 2 to Grand Champ on a PS4, and it was literally because of the settings. So definitely worth it, guys. Definitely change these settings. Just trust me, give it a try, and I'm willing to talk about different kind of stuff in the comments if you guys are in there talking about different stuff. So without further ado, I'll see you guys in the next video, and peace out for now. See you guys later.